Want to be legendary in bed? Today, we're diving into an exciting and often misunderstood topic: how to make her squirt. This is a phenomenon that, for many women, signifies an immense level of sexual satisfaction. It's not just about the physical pleasure, but also about the deep emotional connection that such experiences can foster. We'll be delving into the science, debunking myths, and sharing steps and tips to help you achieve this. So, if you're ready to take your bedroom game to the next level, stick with us. But before we get into the how-tos, let's get a little scientific. When it comes to squirting, what exactly is happening in the female body? The key players in this process are the skene's glands and the G-spot. The skene's glands, often referred to as the female prostate, are located around the lower end of the urethra. When sexually aroused, these glands fill with fluid that can be expelled during climax, resulting in what we term as squirting. Now let's talk about the G-spot. This is an area of spongy tissue on the front wall of the vagina. When stimulated, it swells and can trigger the skene's glands to produce fluid. It's important to note that not every woman's G-spot responds the same way, and that's completely normal. Understanding these biological processes is crucial to understanding squirting. Now that we've covered the science, let's move on to the practical steps. So, how do you make a woman squirt? Here are the steps. Firstly, it's paramount to create a comfortable and relaxed atmosphere. This isn't a race or a performance. It's about exploring and enjoying each other's bodies. Make sure you both are in a comfortable space, both physically and emotionally. Consent, as always, is not just important, it's essential. Make sure you have open communication and understand each other's boundaries. Now let's get to the physical steps. The key player here is the G-spot. You'll find this spongy, ridged area about 2 inches in on the front wall of the vagina. Begin by using a come-hither motion with your fingers to gently stimulate this area. Next, it's time to gradually build up intensity. As arousal heightens, the G-spot will begin to swell and become more sensitive. Continue the stimulation, increasing the pressure and speed as she becomes more aroused. You can also incorporate other types of stimulation, like clitoral, to increase pleasure. As things heat up, you'll notice signs of impending release. She might feel a strong urge to pee, which is a common sensation as the G-spot is close to the bladder. Encourage her to let go and enjoy the sensation. If she feels comfortable, she might want to push out during climax. This can often help trigger the squirting response, but remember, not every woman will squirt, and that's perfectly okay. The goal here is pleasure, not performance. And finally, keep in mind that this might not happen the first time, or even the second or third time. Patience is key. Don't put pressure on either of you to achieve this. It's about the journey, not the destination. So remember, patience and communication are key. Let's talk about some common misconceptions next. There are many myths surrounding squirting. Today, we're debunking them. Let's dive right in. One of the most common misconceptions is that squirting is simply urination. This is not the case. While the fluid released during squirting does pass through the urethra, it's not urine. It's a unique fluid produced in the skene's glands, often referred to as the female prostate. Another myth is that all women can squirt. This isn't entirely true. While many women have the physiological capability to squirt, not all do. Some women may never experience it, and that's perfectly normal. It's important to remember that everyone's body is different, and what works for one person may not work for another. There's also a false belief that squirting is a sign of orgasm. While it can occur simultaneously with orgasm, it doesn't always. Squirting and orgasm are two distinct physiological events, and one doesn't necessarily indicate the other. Lastly, there's the myth that squirting equals sexual satisfaction. Yes, squirting can be a pleasurable experience, but it's not the ultimate measure of sexual pleasure or success. Pleasure is a highly individual experience and can't be measured by any single event or reaction. With these myths busted, you're better equipped to make her squirt. But first, let's talk about some tips and tricks. Scene script. Here are some extra tips and tricks to help you along the way. First off, lubricants can be quite the game changer. They reduce friction, making the journey smoother and more pleasurable for both parties. But remember, not all lubricants are created equal. Opt for a water-based lubricant as it is safe, easy to clean, and compatible with most toys, if you're into that. Next up is experimenting with different positions. Some positions may allow for deeper penetration or better stimulation of the G-spot. Switch things up and see what works best for both of you. Remember, the goal isn't just to make her squirt, but to make the experience enjoyable for both of you. And now, let's talk about communication. This isn't a one-person show. Encourage her to express her feelings and desires. Ask her what feels good, what doesn't, and what she wants more of. This not only improves the experience, but also builds trust and intimacy, making everything more special. Finally, be patient and keep an open mind. This may not happen on the first try or even the 10th. But don't let that discourage you. Keep practicing, keep learning, and keep enjoying each other's company. With these tips and the steps we've discussed, you're well on your way to becoming legendary in bed. So, are you ready to be legendary in bed? Let's recap. We've delved into the science behind squirting, walked through a step-by-step process, debunked common myths, and shared some extra tips to enhance your experience. Remember, the journey to becoming legendary isn't just about technique, it's about communication, understanding, and mutual enjoyment. Remember, the most important thing is that both you and your partner are comfortable and enjoying the experience. Happy exploring!